ADAM22 and the No Jumper podcast empire are currently facing an absolutely catastrophic and unprecedented crisis that has the potential to completely destroy and dismantle everything that Adam Gremisen has spent years building, if he does not address the situation with extreme care and extreme strategic precision. Because the No Jumper office has become a powder keg of violence and gang affiliations that is threatening to explode on camera at any moment and create legal liability and public relations damage that could result in the complete collapse of the brand and the loss of everything that Adam has invested into building the podcast platform and the content creation brand that was once one of the most successful and most influential hip-hop platforms in the entire industry. The fundamental problem that ADAM22 has created for himself is that he has deliberately brought together people with fundamentally incompatible gang affiliations and gang loyalties into the same physical space in the same podcast environment. And he has done this without properly considering or planning.
So I felt like before you put an allegation on a nigga, you supposed to do your background check,
Saying that peanut butter shit.
Do your background check,
for the inevitable conflicts and the inevitable violence that would result from forcing people with deeply rooted street affiliations and deeply rooted gang loyalty to sit next to each other on camera and pretend like everything is fine and everything is normal, when in fact the underlying tensions are absolutely boiling just beneath the surface, waiting to explode at any moment, and create situations that are completely out of Adam's control and completely outside his ability to manage or prevent. The first major crisis that occurred at No Jumper happened when Adam invited a man named Jeremiel Reed to come around the studio and participate in various podcast activities and content creation. And according to court documents and according to legal filings that were obtained by multiple news outlets and media organizations, including Billboard and TMZ, and the source, Jeremiel Reed was viciously beaten and assaulted by people who were allegedly affiliated with Wack 100, including a rapper named Loose Cannon, who is closely associated with Wack 100 and who operates within Wack 10's orbit and ecosystem, and who has a documented history of violent criminal conduct and dangerous behavior. According to the lawsuit that was filed against ADAM22 and against the company that owns the No Jumper building, which is called White Pickle LLC, Jeremiel Reed suffered a broken nose, bruised and swollen eyes around his face, making him almost unrecognizable, a severe concussion that left him disoriented and confused and possibly in critical medical condition requiring hospitalization and extended medical treatment, and he was also robbed of over $10,000 in cash and personal valuables that were stolen from him during the assault by people who apparently saw an opportunity to take his money while they were beating him. The fact that the assault also resulted in robbery means that the incident was not just about violence, but was also about criminal theft and larceny, which adds additional criminal charges and additional legal complexity to the entire situation. The lawsuit specifically alleges that ADAM22 and his company...
Why did you guys even start having issues in the first place? All these Clubhouse games, Instagram, prison games, it's hard to keep track.
No, we really never had no issue. Cuz spoke on something that his little homie told him, that Tiny Munchie told him, but he didn't get the facts straight. So that's what I'm saying. He a Damu, he's speaking on crip politics, and then he didn't ask to read nothing. He didn't ever did nothing like that. He spoke on something, and he spoke on me being on the 50-50 yard, but that's true. But he said, I told on somebody. I ain't never told on nobody in my life. I'm not with no snitching. Ain't nobody never did an hour in jail for nothing I did. And the way I'm bred it is, I don't even speak on shit. If I beef for somebody, I really beef for them in the streets. Like
White Pickle LLC were negligent in the duty to maintain a safe and secure environment for people who visit the No Jumper offices and facilities. And the lawsuit claims that ADAM22 knew or should have known that the people who were brought into the studio had a history of violence and criminal conduct, and that ADAM22 failed to take appropriate precautions to prevent a violent assault from occurring on his property and in his business. What makes this allegation particularly damaging is that it essentially argues that Adam had a legal duty to protect visitors to his property from harm, and that Adam breached that duty by failing to implement security measures or by failing to prevent known violent individuals from being present on the premises. Do you believe that ADAM22 bears responsibility for the violence that has occurred at No Jumper? Or do you think that ADAM22 is just a victim of circumstances who happen to create a space where people with conflicting interests and conflicting affiliations happen to clash through no fault of his own? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is a situation where Adam has clear responsibility for bringing volatile and dangerous people together without proper precautions or proper security measures in place to prevent violence from occurring on his property and in his business. And the legal system apparently agrees with this analysis because a lawsuit has been filed and the case is moving forward through the courts. What makes this situation even worse for ADAM22 is that this was not an isolated incident, and this was not the first time that violence had erupted in the No Jumper offices, which means that ADAM22 had prior notice and prior warning that violence could occur at the facilities, but he failed to make any meaningful changes or any meaningful adjustments to prevent future incidents from occurring. In fact, by continuing to bring volatile people into his office after witnessing violence occur, ADAM22 essentially demonstrated that he understood the risks, but chose to ignore them and chose to allow the dangerous situation to continue regardless of the risks to people's safety and regardless of the legal liability that he was creating for himself and for his company. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because we're going to continue breaking down how workplace violence and gang dynamics are playing out in real time on No Jumper, and how ADAM22's failure to address these issues properly is destroying his brand and destroying his business and creating massive legal liability that is threatening to bankrupt him and collapse his entire empire into complete ruins. Subscribe if you want to understand the intersection of gang culture and content creation and how the normalization of violence in hip-hop culture is creating real-world consequences in professional environments and in business settings where people are expected to maintain professional standards and professional conduct, while simultaneously operating in environments where gang codes and street rules supersede professional workplace policies. The second major incident that occurred at No Jumper involved a man named Almighty Suspect, whose real name is Bayron Tompkins, who was one of the podcast hosts and who had a violent altercation with another co-host named Brandon during a recording session in May of 2025 that was captured on camera and broadcast to the public. During the confrontation, Almighty Suspect made aggressive threats that he was going to beat up Brandon and physically harm him. And when Brandon apparently called him a derogatory name intended to insult and demean him, Almighty Suspect responded by spitting directly on Brandon's face in an act of disrespect and humiliation, and then pulling out a knife to intimidate and threaten Brandon with violence, and to make it clear that he was willing to use a weapon if necessary to defend himself or to establish dominance in the situation. The incident was caught on camera and posted on No Jumper's Instagram account and on their social media accounts across multiple platforms.
That's a Munchie B show, Adam show, Lush, and Hefe did his shit. Dude's the weak link.
J Hood. People kind of f***ing with J Hood.
Oh, J Hood J Hood is definitely a great addition.
Man.
Definitely a great addition. But I tell you this, I will warn them. Don't think you gonna continuously pop it about whacking for the J Hood. You might get your shit broke.
Oh shit.
That's nephew. He loved me for real.
Yeah, he's committed to not saying anything negative about you,
listen,
but yeah.
He don't listen. I don't know. I know J Hood. I know Lil Robbie.
J Hood ain't gonna like. He's not gonna like
Man, J Hood
leap onto Munchie B next time he talks shit about you.
Nah,
he
but
might like look at his phone.
Yeah, J Hood will beat the shit out of one of them dudes up in there. That's a fact. That nigga got hands. Major hands.
J Hood does, huh?
J Hood got hands.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? But listen,
yeah, you're right.
If he ever give him up and say, hey bro, I you know about Hunk, and you keep going, he lying to get his shit butt. I'm trying to tell you, that's deep. That ain't no street shit.
I haven't seen like a J Hood demo, but
Nephew got hands.
At least based on vibes, I might give him the toughest in the office.
J Hood got, you see it.
No shots, no shots, Doughboy.
J Hood.
Doughboy got a mean squabble.
Went viral showing the absolute chaos and absolute dysfunction that had become the norm at the No Jumper offices, to the point where violent altercations between co-hosts had become regular occurrences rather than exceptional incidents that were rare and unusual. When the video went viral, it essentially announced to the entire world and to everyone in the hip-hop community that the No Jumper office was a dangerous and unstable workplace where violence could erupt at any moment and where people were not safe and were not protected from physical harm while they were working on the podcast. What is particularly revealing about ADAM22's response to Almighty Suspect's violent behavior is that Adam stated publicly that he had been extremely lenient with Almighty Suspect in the past, when he had previously gotten into a physical altercation with another co-host named Kelpie in November of 2022, which means that Adam knew about Almighty Suspect's pattern of violent behavior and knew that this was not a first offense or a one-time incident, but rather part of a documented pattern of using violence and intimidation to resolve conflicts. During that earlier incident with Kelpie, Almighty Suspect had also spat on Kelpie and had tried to physically assault him. And Adam had allowed Almighty Suspect to continue working at No Jumper and continue appearing on the podcast despite the fact that Adam had already warned him about his violent and unacceptable behavior. And despite the fact that Adam should have understood that allowing the behavior to continue would only encourage further violent incidents. This pattern of Adam allowing violent behavior to continue and allowing people to face no consequences for their actions clearly created an environment where people felt like they could engage in violence without facing any meaningful repercussions or any meaningful consequences. And it also sent a signal to everyone at No Jumper that violence was apparently an acceptable way to resolve conflicts and an acceptable way to establish dominance and control in the workplace. When people realize that violence will not result in termination or legal consequences, they are much more likely to use violence as a tool to intimidate and control other people. And the workplace essentially becomes a place where the strongest and most violent people are able to dominate everyone else through the threat of physical harm. Subscribe, because what is absolutely critical to understand about the dynamics at No Jumper is that ADAM22 has created a professional environment that operates according to street codes and gang rules rather than according to normal workplace standards and workplace policies. In a normal professional workplace, if someone pulled a knife on a coworker, they will be immediately fired and law enforcement will be called to investigate the incident and potentially file criminal charges. However, at No Jumper, pulling a knife on a coworker apparently resulted in the person being fired after a lengthy period of time during which they were allowed to continue working and continue appearing on the podcast despite the egregious nature of their conduct and the danger they pose to other people in the office. The core issue underlying all of these violent incidents at No Jumper is that ADAM22 has brought together people with gang affiliations and people with street identities into a professional environment without properly considering the gang dynamics and the street codes and the unwritten rules that govern behavior in gang culture and street life. In the street and in gang culture, disrespecting someone's affiliations or speaking negatively about someone's gang or someone's family members can be grounds for violence and potentially grounds for serious physical harm or even death. And the fact that Adam brought people together on his Tuesday show who were actively disrespecting Whack 100 while simultaneously having Whack 100 affiliate J Hood sitting on the same podcast created an absolutely volatile situation that
I went to Highland.
You went to Highland? I know some with the P night. Shout out to my 661.
Yeah, bro. My dad from over there.
From 2P, or he from like Unc?
Yeah.
Like Whack?
He said that his dad is like a Whack disciple.
Whack my uncle.
And we got two Whack lovers on here and a Lush.
I love Whack. I love Whack and
Pop's a Whack lover.
Yep, we all Whack lovers. That's my uncle.
Yeah,
That's family. That's family. Dead homies. I'm team Whack. Dead homies. Whatever issue with Whack got an issue with me. Yeah, homies.
Good off.
Yeah, but y'all got like studio beef. Y'all ain't got no real beef, bro. That ain't real. In the streets, y'all ain't trying to hurt each other.
Ooh. Tell him that.
Yeah, y'all ain't trying to hurt each other, bro. Cause I'm here. Dead homies, like I'm rocking with Whack. Dead homies. Okay. My family, like I can see. That's like you meet this 40s, cuz. This deeper than rap. Family. Dead homies.
Well, said what he said, bro.
I don't know what he said. I don't even be following that internet. I just know that's my family.
No, I'm talking about I said what I said.
What you say?
Spody hates Whack so much that he be putting fake news on him.
What you say?
Gay.
I definitely don't put nothing fake about it.
You call him gay.
You can't call one gay and not call everybody gay. You can't call one gay and not call everybody gay.
What that be? Yeah.
Man, you know what's going on. You can't call one gay if you're not talking about the gay community, bro.
Who gay in the community?
You know what's going on, fool.
I really don't.
I don't.
You know,
I'm not about to go back and forth on
I'm not going to back and forth either.
Yeah, me neither.
Dead homie, what that supposed to mean?
Oh, what like you seem like you got an agenda. Like what?
We can squabble.
You said what?
We can squabble.
Nah,
that's easy
come
call,
on.
bro.
Let's just pod, man.
We go around the corner.
Call, bro.
Or we go around the corner. We men.
That's easy call.
All right, ain't nothing else to talk about.
Stop talking about.
All right, yeah. I'm done talking about it, bro. We gonna squabble after. Oh, it's cool.
This escalated quickly.
No, it ain't escalating. It's regular. This regular program, fool. We ain't.
That's PC.
No, that's me calling you for a fake PC.
Nah, we could have did that on there. You online doing all that.
I'm not online, bro. It just brung. This is a conversation that brung up.
Nah, it seemed you should have.
Bro, come on, call me a PC. Get the squabble right now, bro.
Bro, come on, phone crib.
All right, come on, let's go.
Bro, this is.
Oh, wait. What the fuck? Yo.
Yeah, that shit.
Yo, hold
They're gonna.
They about to go.
I mean, maybe it's like somebody should go watch so they could kind of tell us what happens.
It ain't no breaking
Yo,
it up.
people think it's a play. That's
They might think that shit.
What the fuck? Hey, y'all scream. Make sure y'all scream quick this shit.
Are they really gonna go do that in the parking lot?
Yo. What? This is so unexpected, bro.
I will say that those are two people that I'm not really like worried about the liability necessarily, because I feel like they just gonna do what they're gonna do, and it's not like they are like the last people on earth that would like try to act like they were coerced into what? We just saw J Hood's energy.
What's going on?
Was destined to explode into violence and was completely predictable to anyone with even a basic understanding of street culture and gang dynamics. According to the source material and according to what transpired on the No Jumper Tuesday podcast episode, the hosts were actively and aggressively talking negative about Whack 100 and making jokes about Whack 100 and disrespecting Whack 100 in ways that were clearly intended to be humorous to their audience, but which were deeply offensive and deeply disrespectful from a street perspective and from a gang culture perspective. While J Hood was sitting on the same podcast, forced to listen to his family being disrespected and mocked and attacked by people who have no respect for the street codes and the unwritten rules that govern how you treat people's family members and people's affiliations. He had to make a decision about whether he was going to sit passively and allow his family to be disrespected, or whether he was going to respond and make it clear that Whack 100 and Whack 100's reputation were off limits and not open for discussion. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because we're going to continue breaking down these kinds of complex workplace situations that involve gang culture and street dynamics intersecting with professional business environments. And we're going to continue analyzing how ADAM22's failure to understand and respect these dynamics has created a dangerous and volatile situation at No Jumper that threatens the safety of everyone who works there and everyone who visits the facilities. Subscribe if you want to understand the deeper cultural issues that are driving the violence at No Jumper and how the normalization of street culture and gang culture in hip-hop has created expectations that violence is an acceptable and even an expected way to resolve conflicts and establish respect and dominance in professional environments. When J Hood realized that the people on the podcast were not going to stop disrespecting Whack 100 no matter what he said or did to convince them to stop, and when he realized that there was no way to use words and rational discourse to make them understand the disrespect they were displaying to his family and his affiliations, he apparently decided that the only way to establish respect and the only way to make it clear that Whack 100 was not going to be disrespected on his watch and not on his presence was to physically confront and physically fight with one of the people who was doing the disrespecting and who was leading the charge in attacking Whack 100's reputation and Whack 100's name. According to the videos and according to what people who were present reported and according to what was broadcast on the podcast, J Hood allegedly...
What up, guys?
What happened to your glasses?
I got them. What's going on?
Where your
man?
glasses at?
In my pocket. What's going on, man?
What happened out there?
Nothing happened. We ain't got to talk about what happened.
It's a little keyway meeting.
Yep, mutual respect. Respect just got to be established. You know, it's good people. Regular.
I guess since we're not gonna talk about the elephant in the room, we'll talk about the donkey in the room.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. It seemed like you be like, I don't know.
He confronted Spotface during the podcast episode and challenged him to a physical altercation in front of the cameras and in front of the audience. And Spotface apparently accepted the challenge despite understanding the risks and despite understanding that J Hood was a much more formidable physical presence and much more experienced in street fighting than Spotface probably was. The two men apparently decided to go outside the building and settle their differences with physical violence in the parking lot away from the cameras and away from the official broadcast. And they essentially took their conflict offline so that they could engage in the physical confrontation without it being broadcast and without it being documented by the podcast crew. What is absolutely critical to understand about this situation is that when J Hood made it clear that he was willing to fight and willing to use violence to defend Whack 100's honor and Whack 100's reputation, he was following gang codes and street codes that dictate that you have to be willing to fight and willing to use violence to defend the people you care about and the people who are affiliated with you and the people who are part of your family and your organization. J Hood was essentially defending his family's reputation and his uncle's reputation by being willing to physically fight anyone who disrespected that family member. And from the street perspective and from the gang culture perspective, J Hood was doing exactly what he was supposed to do and exactly what he was expected to do by his community and by the people who are affiliated with him and who count on him to protect their interests and their reputations. However, from the perspective of a professional podcast and a professional business operation, J Hood's response to the disrespect directed at WAC 100 was completely inappropriate and completely violated professional workplace standards and workplace conduct policies that prohibit physical violence and that require disputes to be resolved through dialogue and through professional communication rather than through physical altercation and threat of violence. The fact that J Hood was willing to engage in physical violence on No Jumper property and the fact that ADAM22 allowed this to happen and did not intervene to prevent it demonstrates Adam's complete failure to establish and enforce professional workplace standards and professional conduct policies at No Jumper. Subscribe, because what happened after J Hood and Spotface went outside to fight reveals something absolutely critical about the dynamics at No Jumper and reveals something absolutely critical about who the actual tough guys are in that office and who the actual weak links are and who can be counted on to stand their ground and who will back down when confronted with physical threat. When J Hood came back inside after the altercation with Spyface, the entire energy and the entire dynamic of the room had changed fundamentally because J Hood had just demonstrated that he was willing and able to physically dominate people who got out of line and people who did not show the proper respect to his family and his affiliations. And everyone in that room knew that J Hood had just proven his point in the most direct and most undeniable way possible. The fact that J Hood was willing to fight and willing to use violence to maintain order and maintain respect sent a clear message to everyone in that office that there would be consequences going forward for disrespecting WAC 130, and that J Hood was not going to tolerate any further disrespect to his family and his affiliations, no matter how clever the jokes were or how entertaining the disrespect might be to the audience. From a street perspective, J Hood had just established himself as the enforcer and the protector of WAC 100's interests and reputation, and everyone understood that if they continued to disrespect WAC 100, they would face potential physical consequences from J Hood or from other people who were affiliated with WAC 100. However, what ADAM22 apparently failed to understand in all of this chaos and all of this violence is that by allowing J Hood to demonstrate his willingness and his ability to use violence to silence critics and silence people who were speaking negatively about WAC 100, ADAM22 was essentially surrendering control of his own podcast to gang dynamics and gang culture and gang codes that have nothing to do with professional broadcasting standards or professional workplace conduct. By allowing J Hood to establish himself as the enforcer who would use violence to protect WAC 100's interests and WAC 100's reputation, ADAM22 was essentially delegating control of his own platform to someone who operates according to street codes and gang rules rather than according to professional standards and workplace policies that are supposed to govern how people interact with each other in a professional broadcast environment. What is also absolutely critical to understand is that ADAM22 is already facing severe financial difficulties and severe business challenges because in April of 2025, ADAM22 announced publicly that No Jumper was going broke, and that the company was going to have to lay off employees and close their retail store and sell their warehouse and relocate to a much smaller workspace that would be more affordable and require fewer resources to maintain and operate. The fact that No Jumper is facing such severe financial difficulties and such severe business challenges means that ADAM22 cannot afford to have multiple lawsuits and multiple legal battles happening simultaneously, because each lawsuit costs him hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and attorney costs and settlement costs and damages that he has to pay out to people who have been injured or harmed as a result of the violence at his facility. Multiple lawsuits happening at the same time could absolutely bankrupt the company and force ADAM22 to shut down No Jumper entirely and liquidate all of his assets to pay off the legal judgments and the settlement agreements. And Adam would essentially lose everything that he has built over the years and years of hard work building the No Jumper brand and building the audience and building the content creation platform. The lawsuit that Jermel Reed filed against ADAM22 and against the company that owns the No Jumper building is particularly damaging because it alleges that ADAM22 was negligent in his duty to provide a safe environment, and that ADAM22 knew or should have known that violence was likely to occur given the people and the gang affiliations that he had brought into his office. The fact that Adam had already experienced violent incidents at No Jumper in the past means that Adam cannot argue that he had no warning or no notice that violence could occur. And the fact that Adam failed to implement security measures or failed to prevent gang-affiliated people from being on the podcast together at the same time means that Adam is clearly liable for the damages and the injuries that resulted from the assault on Jermel Reed, and potentially liable for future incidents as well, if he continues to allow the same dangerous situation to continue. Peace.